Hey, good evening, everyone. It's great to see everyone back for fast food. I'm Joe Trumpy. I'm faculty at the School of Art and Design, PITE, and I also direct the university's Sustainable Living Experience. I'm glad to be here to present Professor Shakara Tyler tonight. You've already met her. She co-teaches this class that many of you are in. She's a lecturer at SEAS and also is a returning generation farmer, educator, and organizer who engages in Black agrarianism, agroecology, food sovereignty, and environmental justice as commitments of abolition and decolonization. Today, talking to her about her likes, she gave like the perfect environment faculty response about her favorite things. First, yoga. Second, trees. Third, the moon. And her favorite food is watermelon. So we can all kind of transport ourselves from a cold winter sunny day to a beautiful summer day that we could share with her, looking at the trees, sharing a watermelon margarita on the patio together. So, Dr. Tyler.
Thanks, Joe. Peace, everyone. So I'm going to share a little about the story of the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund. I'm a co-founder of this institution that's a coalition of 3 long-standing urban agricultural organizations in Detroit with the collective mission to rebuild intergenerational land ownership for Black Detroiters. And so we see this as a grassroots campaign and as a grassroots needed process to build more equity, justice, and sustainability at the local level, but also at state, regional, and national levels. So basically, we fund and provide technical assistance for Black growers to purchase land from the Detroit Land Bank Authority and other real estate avenues, as well as we funding farm infrastructure projects such as rainwater catchment systems, tool storage, sheds, and things like that to build viable, thriving farm communities. Recently, we began to expand our fund and strategically support Indigenous and Latinx growers in the city for a more holistic orientation to community-controlled food systems and working towards food sovereignty in Detroit. So if you are not aware, Detroit is extremely low income. According to this map, the incomes that are less than $30,000 are highly concentrated in the southeast part of Wayne County. And to take the guesswork out of it, it's not a coincidence. This is not happenstance. This is very strategic and calculated. Detroit is also highly segregated and majority Black. Detroit is actually the Blackest city in the country here on Turtle Island. It's about 83% Black. And majority of the Black population that's reflected here, it looked green on my screen, but now it looks kind of yellow here. So the yellow parts are the Black communities in Detroit. The blue is the white population or white communities in the suburbs. The red is a highly concentrated Arabic community, which actually the central part of the city, Hamtramck and other surrounding sub-municipalities are the highest concentration of Arabic communities among the highest in the country. And the orangish color here on this map represents a thriving Latinx community in Southwest Detroit. Detroit is also massively large. So comparing Detroit to 3 other major cities, San Francisco, Boston, and Manhattan, the entire perimeters of these cities can fit within the contours of Detroit. And this is very unusual for a city, and I'll get to the reason why. Detroit also has a massive amount of vacant land due to population loss, white flight in particular, massive divestment from local, state, and federal authorities. If you're familiar with the Detroit emergency management context, please raise your hand, maybe. All right, some, that's good to know. So Detroit has a total area of 139 square miles. That's roughly 1/3 of that, or 40 square miles, is vacant. And so again, Detroit is a very unique metropolitan area because not many cities here on Turtle Island have massive amounts of vacant property available. And at least 5,000 acres are publicly owned vacant lots that are owned by the Detroit Land Bank Authority. So what's going to happen with this land, right? And how does this enormous amount of vacant land contribute to the quest for food sovereignty in the city? So the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund saw the need to help Black growers in the city to purchase land because we've been taking responsibility for these vacant properties that we cannot afford to buy, right? And so many properties that range from $500 to $10,000 are available for sale. And so we did massive fundraising campaigns to ensure that Black growers could actually be owners of the land that they've been working on for decades, or they just started cultivating maybe over the past few years. So since our founding in 2020, we have awarded 120 farmers with financial awards to purchase land that they're growing on or will begin to grow on. Currently, 43 are landowners. 12.9 acres of land have been purchased by awardees. 21 infrastructure projects that range from rainwater catchment systems, maybe some solar installation, other kinds of renewable energy installation, tool storage have been completed on their farms. And 16 farmers are in the current queue, the process of purchasing their land. Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. How is this abolition? Has anyone heard of the term abolition before today? Okay, wonderful. Oh, I like this group. Okay. It's gonna make my job easier. Abolition is the affirmation of Black life and the elimination of soft and hard cultural systems that uphold interlocking systems of oppression. So the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund is ensuring Black life through Black land ownership so that we have more community control over the systems that dictate our lives. So if you weren't familiar, about 98% of the acres countrywide is owned by white people, white farmers, white communities, regardless of the title, right? And there is no sense of food sovereignty or equity if that remains as is. And so we facilitate white-owned land transfer as reparations to build economic and political power in an anti-Black system built on our dehumanization. So what is decolonization? I think that's probably a more familiar term. Who's familiar? Yay, nay? Okay. So decolonization is the returning of indigenous peoples' sovereignty through land and all the factors that ensure indigenous futurities. So by financially, politically, and socially supporting and strategizing the emerging land-back movement in Detroit, we stand in intentional solidarity with indigenous communities. And we don't see these as separate frameworks, theories, or practices. In order to do abolition, we have to do decolonization, because affirming indigenous sovereignty and Black life simultaneously is at the core of all things that are just, sustainable, and equitable. Thank you.